Welcome to this FAI Coach Education Webinar. I'm Gareth Maher. I'm delighted to be joined by FAI Coach Educator Tom O'Connor. Really experienced coach. Tom has been in the association for a long time. And he's going to focus on leadership today, which is a topic that will relate to all coaches at all levels. And we'll have an assignment set by Tom at the end. So make sure you stay tuned for that because there's 3 hours of CPD to be earned from that assignment.
You've set a presentation for us here, so let's go through the slides here. So I think this is really interesting. The first one is obviously the topic is leadership, and you set some clear objectives.
Yeah, well, we're obviously doing the coach educators are putting on some webinars, and obviously we all needed to pick a topic, and this is a topic that's obviously in a previous life, should I say. I did a number of years in the military, so it's a topic that sort of has fascinated me. It's only recently though that I've started to research it and look around and delve into it, and maybe interview and talk to managers, talk to players, because of the fact that it's actually required. It doesn't come up as a big bold what would you call it, quality of a coach. They mention leadership. So what I'm trying to do in this sort of a brief look at leadership in itself, just want to go through a few points, make a few points to the coaches, and they may take things on. So we started off with clear objectives, give us a definition of leadership, and there's lots of definitions. Carlo Ancelotti's definition is leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. Thought that was decent. And the one out of a dictionary is the first one there I have up on the screen is actions of leading a group of people, and I would say to an objective. So if you're a head coach or you're a coach or you're part of a team, your objective for the season would be what? Win the league, win the cup, finish higher than you did last year, but at least you have an objective. Second point would be then, know the qualities of a coach, and there are numerous ones. There's no right or wrong. Every coach is different, so you may take a couple of things from this webinar. Last point then is tips on improving yourself. So if you like some of the attributes that we talk about, or some of the points that we make, implement them and take them on and add them to your armory. And that's what you're always doing as a coach anyway. You're always looking and assessing, and you're always trying to make yourself better. So that's what the whole point of this webinar is, Gareth.
Yeah, and we can see in some of the pictures there, the top right, the under-19s team that went to the semi-finals in 2011 with Paul Doolan. A lot of players that came through the Emerging Talent Programme. And bottom left, Alan Brown played Cork City under-19s, the under-19s league, and Emily Whelan played the under-17s league, Women's National League, and they're both senior internationals now. So the progression of those guys of improving themselves has come through.
Yeah, well, it's working on the obviously coaches, home-based coaches, or international coaches. There's a nice photograph of Paul's team, but I mean Tom Moan, they're ranked 10th in Europe, and Colin O'Brien's under-17s are in the top 10.
Yeah,
and that's a testimony to our coach education system, because they came through that, and that's what I would say to people. Also as well, I think we have to highlight the female game, because it's progressing at a real rapid rate. And I would be saying to coaches, if you get the opportunity to work within the Women's National League, any of the age groups, grab it, because you'd be pleasantly surprised at the standard of the particular leagues, and more importantly, of the players. Then there's Alan then as well. Maybe one of the modern players. We keep on evolving in coach education, and coach education pathway for coaches and player pathway they run parallel in our system, and that's all down to our high performance director who oversees all of that. But in my situation, I work under Niall O'Regan, but we all answer to Rude Doctor, and again he has given us some very clear pathways, and even definitions, and even aspects of coaching, and how he wants the game to be played. All the international managers meet frequently, and they discuss elements of that.
Very good. Like one of the forms of leadership is also attitude, and how not only what they do on the pitch, but the interesting picture of a dressing room there. That
Yeah, well, again, when you do a little bit of research, people delve into the books, and I came across this, and this is a photograph of a dressing room. The match was Japan versus Belgium, quarterfinal of the World Cup. Japan were winning 2-0, and Belgium went on to win 3-2. And this is the dressing room that was left after he had finished. So I just thought it was amazing. And the reason why it hit with me, first of all the international managers who work with our underage players, make sure we clean the dressing rooms after the game, because it's part of it. What do you call it? It's little items we look for within the group of players. And again, it's leadership, in my opinion. I remember thinking back to my own playing days. If you lost a match and walked into a dressing room, you wouldn't be in a good form. And also as well, I've been around the country and going into dressing rooms, and you see mantras put up, like winners are workers, losers are make excuses. So in my opinion, if you have mantras and you have those values and disciplines, you need to live them. And I think this for me was a real perfect example of it. The other thing then was a little bit of respect. The Japanese, that little sign on the table is says thank you, and how simple is that? And again, for players on buses, getting off a bus, making sure it's clean, and then just saying thank you to the driver. So there are elements of leadership that we pass down as international managers.
And it is something that is implemented in the FAI. I've experienced myself being with Colin O'Brien's under 17s and Tom Holland's under 19s last summer. It's fantastic to see the young players grasp the importance of this.
Yeah, well, it's only one of those way. It's only another way of passing on leadership to the players. I mean, you can delegate people to do it, but it does rub off. And I mean, a lot of the players we have playing at the highest level, they're like that. They've brilliant respect for everybody around them. That's the first thing you notice. I mean, you're in a hotel, or they're getting, waiter comes and puts food in front of them. It's a thank you, and there's nothing better. There's nothing better as an international manager when you're leaving a hotel, particularly when you're abroad, and the manager comes and says, "They're a credit to you." I used to always I used to take great pride in that. Not just myself, but the staff, because your staff are part and parcel of developing leadership, and we'll talk about the staff later on.
Okay. You have a slide here that says 10 things that require zero talent.
Yeah, well, again, and I would say we pass these little attributes onto the players, and it's amazing. I know nowadays, and when I was working within the underage setup, scouts, people who are looking to recruit from your group, they would have a great what would you call it, knowledge. The scout themselves would have a great knowledge of what the players are like on the pitch. It's amazing. Every scout, every person who I've dealt with who wants to bring a player, they ask, what are they like off the pitch? And so that's why I put these up. And these are elements that the young players need to grasp. But again, if they're not grasping them, that's where the leadership comes in. That's where the staff, the head coach, needs to indoctrinate them in it. Passion, being coachable, putting in effort, attitude. And I hear stories all the time. Oh, he wasn't a great player, but he had great attitude, and that's how we made it to the top. So we're there as facilitators for the players to get to the next level. Being on time. And I always say, how simple is that? That's a real simple one. And again, working in coach education, we have a seminar on, we have a team meeting on, or we have a lecture on at 9 o'clock. If you arrive there at 9, I would say you're 10 minutes late, although it's the appointed time. So again, there are elements and traits of leaders that we pass on to the young players. And it was amazing as well. I think we've seen a little notification from the Chelsea team. They put up their list of fines for everyone to look at. On top of the list was being on time. So even players among themselves, the leaders within the captain or the captains, a lot of clubs now delegate more than one captain. They keep that in order. And again, there's team meetings, there's training sessions, there's meeting for the bus, meeting for the plane, changing planes. So again, I do say how simple is being on time. And I know, having worked with players who are constantly late, they haven't graduated. They never graduated to the highest point that they could, just because of that attribute.
Tom, do you think that these could be a code of conduct that grassroots coaches could set out at the beginning of a campaign or a season?
Well, I think at the underage grassroots, as you were saying, and I visited a lot of clubs around the country, and they seem to have this in spec by the virtue of the fact that players joining a team or joining a club now will get a code of conduct. Their parents will be part of that, and the staff are also part and parcel of the code of conduct. So it is, yeah. They've done it. I know, again, from my own experience, and all the lads, when our initial meeting with players, we actually put this up and we tell them what we look for, because it's important. And we also ask the players, what do they want from us? And they tend to say the same as what they've been showing. Yeah, if we're on time, we want you to be on time. If we're passionate, we want you to be passionate. And being prepared would, I just see there's another one. And being prepared is vital. Having all your gear and equipment as a player. If you're a sub on the bench, being ready to go on in a split second, that's in the first minute or the 94th minute, you're ready to go. And I think Carlo Ancelotti had a little bit of a, what would you call it, an incident when at Everton not so long ago, when he wanted to put a sub on and he hadn't got his jersey, and there was a bit of a hullabaloo. So whether we like it or not, that falls down to the head coach. You're responsible for that. And I bet that won't happen again. And it happened to me early on. I think I was managing on, and I asked the player to go on, and he hadn't got his socks. And I went, boop. It was a bit of an incident, but it never happened again. And so sometimes you have to learn the hard way. But Carlo Ancelotti at the highest level professionalism. But as I'm saying, it won't happen again.
Sure. You mentioned the highest level. Here's a man that's reaching the highest level now in our country, taking over the Republic of Ireland men's senior team. What's someone who's been through a great coaching journey to get there?
Yeah, well, from our own perspective, and again, obviously in the association, we're all delighted that Stephen's been appointed, and again, the international managers meet. Real Doctor meets with them again, as I'm saying, frequently, and his style of play is very comparable to the way all our underage teams play, both male and female. So I'm sure that they'll learn a lot from him, and he'll pass on a lot of information. But the point about it is that it gives us again, and it will inspire all coaches around the country, that there is a pathway for you to go and manage at the top level.
Yeah, that leadership, as you mentioned, that Stephen can set the leadership of. You mentioned already, how we play the style of football, going down the age level. Some, obviously Jim Crawford's coming in the 21s, but all the way down to Jay Dunhill with the 15s as well. That the leadership is set by Stephen as well as Real Doctor as well.
Yeah, well, they're the people in charge. They're the people that they're at the top, and leadership from them was to be there's no any doubts about how they've led and how Stephen will look at his job, and I'm sure he appreciates that. And when they all come in, I'm sure, like anything, he'll take a bit from the underage managers as well, and use it without a shadow of a doubt. But the big thing for me is that it has to inspire the rest of the coaches in the country, people starting off in their pathway, people midway through their pathway, and whatever their ambitions are. There's a great example of it.
You wanted to look at the qualities of a coach. It's a picture of you alongside former assistant Stephen Rice.
Yeah, that was just a bit before the game. Obviously, it's in the home of football up in Tala. Yeah, so I threw down a number of things there again. Being aware, being patient, enthusiastic, knowledgeable, and I think people when they start into the coaching career and want to make a head coach, this knowledgeable and learning never stops. Even up to this day, myself, you're still trying to evolve. You're still trying to upskill yourself in many areas. But I'd like to just home in on decision maker. I think that's really relevant, and it's a big part of being the head coach. And if you're an assistant, you'll watch and observe, and hopefully you'll take on these points. Also, as well, making decisions. You may have to make decisions on your own. Other times you'll have the support of the staff. So I was just intrigued there. I was watching just a little documentary on Ryan Giggs. He's 4 days when Davy Moyes left Manchester United and he took over. And it was a nice little insight. And he actually admits, he says, "My God, I've 7 positions and I've 10 players. I'm going to have to make a decision there." So it's decision making. So, and after the match, that's when the decision starts for the immediately after the game, depending on the score. And that was my thoughts. And he then reinforced that. I think Sunderland beat them 1-0, and he hadn't trained that week himself. And when he was analysing what happened, I didn't train. I get the players too much respect, and they didn't do it. So he was beginning the process of making decisions then for the next week. What training sessions are you going to do? What are the sessions going to involve? Who's going to be involved in them? And that's only the training sessions. And if it's an away match, it'll be the travel. Where are you going to stay? And then your support staff will come in, whatever food and rehydration might come into that. And that's building up then to the following match. But decision making is a big one. One I left out would be as well, you have to be obsessed. You have to be obsessed about what you're going to do. It's not a 9 to 5 job. And again, Ryan Giggs, he says, I'll be starting at 9 o'clock and I won't finish till 10 o'clock this evening. And regardless the level that you're dealing with, regardless the age group, you'll find that there's always something to be done. If you're working with underage players, you'll be dealing with parents, injuries, and staff. So it's never ending. So prepare yourself for that. That's what I would say to people. But you have to be definitely obsessed about it, without a shadow of a doubt. Even in our coach education, we have Seamus Kelly, Dr. Seamus Kelly, who played himself in goal, an Offaly man. He says a good Offaly man, but he said there's only 2 good Offaly men, him and Barack Obama. He mentions very good, but he's come in on the pro license, and again he comes in and he's prepared for everything, and he's give us some examples, and because we have been prepared, and it was on the last slide, is everything to a T, and gave us great examples of how a coach or a leader should be prepared.
Can I just touch on the decision maker there, Tom, that you mentioned? Because it's not just on the pitch stuff, is it? I know I appreciate the stuff that you mentioned there, which is really important. But for a grassroots coach, it could be kind of booking a pitch, making sure the floodlights are on, making sure there's hydration, or the engine room, or whatever, the bus comes on time, or
brilliant. There, and that's a great point, Gareth. It's off the pitch, on the pitch. I mean, on the pitch. You can be prepared maybe for making substitutions. Who are you going to put in? But other times things happen, and you have to be on the ball, and that's your match situation. A player sent off. What do you do? Sometimes you have to think quick on your feet. Other times as well, other times then as well, and even as a grassroots coach, I mean, you shouldn't be on your own. You should have people there to give you a dig out. And again, from my own experience of being a head coach, I bounced off my staff, on every little thing. Was that a right decision? And more importantly, being prepared, also reflecting, how did you think we done? What did you think of the team talk? Did they cover enough points? And I always wanted my staff then to make sure that they were honest and they told me exactly how it was, without going overboard, without killing me. But that's important, and you have to be able to take that on. So decision making is massive in it. It happens with a head coach every day. And again, when I was a player coach in Leicester Senior League, I thought it was just Tuesday, Thursday, turn up for it, and maybe playing a Saturday and look after the team on a Sunday. It was every day of the week. Monday, you'd be dealing with people, you'd be dealing with players, dealing with your committee. Because as a leader, you have to lead your players, and you also have to lead above you, as in management, as in the committee of the club.
Sure. Here's an example of leadership in a different way. It's a clip from Zinedine Zidane, the Real Madrid head coach. And why did you choose to show us this clip, Tom?
Well, the reason, a number of questions that were asked during the week. One of the questions that was asked from Tommy Carberry was, how do you structure your halftime talk? Mm-hmm. So again, this could be a module on its own. So this is a final of Champions League, Madrid versus Juventus. So it's 1-1, and Zidane, they come in off the pitch, and I know from coaches, you have 15 minutes to do something, or to say something, or to make a couple of points. So I was intrigued by this, considering the level of or the importance of the game. One of the biggest competitions in the world. So he comes in, and I think the first bit, what he does is he lets them recover, and then I think the next bit, then he leaves them alone for maybe 7 minutes. I think it says in the clip there, 7 minutes, and one or two of the players make a few comments between them, and then he comes in then, and he starts. Then he's like we all do. And when I first started, I used to think you have to talk for 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. So he was just getting them ready there to say his few words, and there he goes.
And he's keeping it simple as well. He's breaking it down to only a couple of points.
There's I think about 6 or 7 points is all that he makes, and they're quite simple. Get tight. We have to be a little bit more aggressive, and just one gesture. He claps his hands to make there you go. He claps his hands to make sure that emphasizes, without roaring and shouting, and without picking out players and eyeballing them. I know myself, when I did it a long time ago, or I was sitting down on the receiving end. So I think this is an important point for coaches starting off. Again, depending on the level that you're going to be, you could be on the side of a pitch doing this. So you'd have the players huddled in, and then you have to make sure there's no distractions, and you mightn't get 15 minutes. I know our national leagues, they're very well organised, and players you're able to go into the dressing room. So I would suggest you have a structure on what you're going to say. If you can use video, if you have a video analyst, you could use a couple of clips. But generally, it's only 3 or 4 points is all you're going to make. Forget about the first half. People will say, Tom, if you're 4-0 down, what do you say? There's not a whole lot you can say. Myself personally, my mantra would be, let's go out and win the second half. There's nothing we can do. It's 4-0. The best I can ask for you, or the best I can get from you, is, can we go and win the second half? We maybe drawn it. We recently played it against USA. We were 3-0 down after the first half. Second half, it was 0-0. I was over the moon because the players had, rectified, and they didn't give the chances that they did in the first half. And it came out with, I have to say, very proud of the players. And I think the players were proud of themselves, particularly the leaders within the group. So there you go, ready to rock and roll, out.
And another clip that you have is a little bit different, but it's player-led this time, from France captain Paul Pogba during the 2018 FIFA World Cup.
Yeah, but again, leaders create leaders. And I think Pogba, we all know, he break your heart. But I think and this was the World Cup final before they went out. And in this particular clip, he says a few words. I was intrigued by what he said. And another thing I do say to people as well, when you're talking, as in presentations, it's not what you say sometimes, it's how you say it.
Sure.
And he's saying it in a real dignified, passionate manner, which encapsulates the whole of the country. We talked about everybody. And he's telling them, it's only one game. And if we apply ourselves properly. And that's coming from one of the players. So again, I was intrigued by that. And I would say to underage coaches who are developing, in order to let the players be leaders, you need to give them a little chance of doing that themselves, and they can do that in training. When you do a part of a session, you can bring them in. You can give a scenario before you go out, and you can ask the players themselves, what are you going to do now? And let the leaders within the group give the answers. And again, by talking with young players, you'll be really surprised of their knowledge, because they're all young players nowadays. They're getting lots and lots of football. They're getting Sky Sports and Gary Neville analysing, and they do pick up on it. And
that's important, Tom, though, isn't it? Because it allows you to identify leaders within your group as well, because you don't always have to pick the best player to be your captain or your vice captain, but a leader can emerge in different ways.
Yeah, I remember I selected a captain. I went to a game and it was absolutely horrendous. And he was playing on a team that were fancied to win, but were beaten. It was a real upset. And I was on my own, standing like you do, as you do, the nowhere man, standing across in a blizzard. But I came out with that game having selected the captain. And the reason being, the player who I selected on that particular day, he didn't give many instructions to anybody around him. He just led by example. He just kept on getting on the ball and passing it. And I have deselected players for groups on the same basis or a different basis. Like I've gone and they're 2-3-0 down, and they just throw the towel in. And I remember speaking to the recruitment officer at Man United, and they said they like to see their players when they're winning, and they like to see them when they're getting beaten, see what their attitude is. So they're elements. So you can have a silent captain who just leads by example, does generally it is would be your best player, and the reason for that is because they're setting the example. And then we also we've also gone then for the centre halves who generally dictate and organise, and goalkeepers are the same. They obviously organise the back four. And I'd also say as well then. I'd also say as well that off the pitch, their captains, because a lot of teams now, they have more than one captain.
This leadership you mentioned about the different ways you can learn.
Yeah. Well, for me, learning, and again, I spoke to a lot of, particularly on the courses. I like to have a chat with the participants, both male and female. How do you actually learn? I'm always intrigued by that. Some people, it's like the players do it visually. Others like to see it on a tactic board. Players like to see it on a tactic board. Doing tasks yourself on the pitch. Looking at sessions, looking at other people putting on sessions. Learn from different coaches. But I would say if you're learning from different coaches, I would always give you the advice of be yourself. And another thing I would throw in, another attribute I would throw in, be honest. And talking to players who've played under top managers, and we meet them frequently. I remember meeting Michel Salgado. He's done his B and his A with us, 2 Champions League medals, and asked him about managers he played under. Did they do much on the tactic board? No. Give you a big team talk? No. So what was his strengths? He said he just told us to go out and play. Now, I haven't said I had Zidane in front of him. He's Roberto Carlos left back. But if you know, if you'll study coaches, and that's what I did. You'll study coaches, you learn and take their good attributes and good things that they do. You'll discard the ones that you don't like, and you'll use them for effect for yourself. But be yourself, and as I'm saying, talking to players, they always said he was honest with me, or she was honest with me. That was you know, they never commented on how good a coach they were on the pitch. They always commented on how they treated them, how they knew about them. So how do you learn? We have an annual coaching convention every year, and I mean the guest speakers on it have been brilliant. So there's quality sessions on the pitch, as in practical sessions. Damien Duff did the last one. There's Alan Irvine came in. He gave a talk in the classroom as a theory session. So I advise people get down there. The other thing about attending our coaching convention, Noel and Rude again run it and look after it, and it's very, very, very well run, very, very enjoyable. But you get to meet people like yourself from around the country,
and
you'll be able to speak to them when you're having a cup of tea. And also the CPD, again, it's important, and it's part and parcel now of UEFA, the UEFA coaching convention, and it's also part and parcel of you with your coaching qualifications to keep them. You need 15 hours a year. So again, in the coach education department, Noel has made sure that we're really going to run out. Every one of the coach educators are going to run an event. I ran one myself in March. I actually covered a little bit on the leadership. And we also did a practical session for the grassroots players. So you'll pick up all the time, and it mightn't be just the practical session. It might be the manner of the coach. It might be the organisation. So I would say to get to the CPD events. I'd also say as well to people, if you're going to start on the pathway, go through the coaching courses, the UEFA courses we have, because we are highly regarded within Europe. Highly regarded. I've been to Germany, Belgium, and the head of coach education from Greece attended our last day license, came in for a block because he wanted to see how we do things. And again, he was taken aback. And on our first female course, that was audited by UEFA. 3 of the top coaches come over, and again to watch and see how we do things. And we obviously the countries do things differently, but they like their style. They like the fact that we do a lot of reality-based training, and not only that, but we're very approachable, we're very helpful, and they were the comments that they made. But as I'm saying, the coach education, our coach education system here is well respected throughout the rest of Europe.
It's a very good point, Tom, because the coaching conventions 2-day event, and it takes place in IT Carlow the last couple of years, and hopefully we get to do one again this year if when football gets back to normal. And it's a really good event, as you mentioned, for the CPD, which for anybody that's a little bit unsure is continuous professional development. And as you say, you need to kind of keep your CPD hours up in order to maintain your coaching qualifications, and it's really important. And it's great to have so many events that is being put on by the FAI Coach Education Department, and it also leads to enjoying moments and being part of success as well, isn't it, Tom? You've been very lucky to be involved with some teams, and there's a photo here with the women's national senior team from last year.
Yeah, but again, it'd be remiss of me to not mention, the women's game. Over the last 3 years, I've attended games over the weekends, and again, I really enjoyed them, and it's grown from strength to strength. But that was picture was taken again, and it's to highlight the staff. There's 6 members of staff in there, and then within the group, Anya O'Gorman, who's just came back, and she's done her UEFA B, and again, I would predict a great career ahead of her, but I can't say that at the moment because I know she's really she's getting herself ready, and please God that they'll qualify for the Euros. And again, Sue Ronan in the women's education. Or sorry, Sue is involved with the obviously coach education, and she's been pushing for players to go and get their UEFA B badge, so that they can be ready, for things that might happen ahead.
Yeah, and it's been something that's been put on by the FAI, isn't it? As a female-only B licence course.
Yeah, and it's been excellent. Katie McCabe is currently on, and she's a captain of the squad again. Very young to be captain, and shows great qualities of leadership as a captain. And again, when I talk about it, quality traits, Louise Quinn, I can see there, and again another great leader on the pitch, unbelievable. And the example I always give is that when we conceded against the USA, she gathered all the players in, herself and Katie, and had a few words which I thought was, I'd never seen it before, but it was brilliant. And then I'd also point out Denise O'Sullivan. Doesn't say much, but what a leader on the pitch. Absolutely fantastic, phenomenal. Her leadership, she's not non-stop energy for the whole of the game. And again, that rubs off, and it rubs off to the rest of the players without a shadow of a doubt. So I just wanted it again. I needed to show a photograph of a great, and for me, an excellent team, and hopefully they'll, and I think they will qualify for the European Championships that are being held in England in 2022, I believe.
Yeah.
So it's been put back a year. Please God.
In terms of your own coaching career, your approach to it, your ethos, UEFA don't like to use the word philosophy when we're talking in this regard, but this is something that you try to implement with the teams that you've kind of coached.
Yeah, well, I think if you're in a part of a group, part of a staff, or you're the head coach yourself, you need to have a plan, and you also need to have a way of playing. Now, in some academies that I've visited, it goes from the under-8s all the way up to the senior team. And so if you're going to buy into an academy, or if you're going to be employed by an academy, and they play a certain style, and there's nothing wrong or there's nothing wrong or right. I know our high performance director, he wants us to play in a certain manner, playing 4-3-3, but that can change, and that's because we all know, and Rue knows himself, that the game evolves. So sometimes you may attack with a 4-3-3, but defend in a 4-4-2. I know watching Wolves, they started off playing 5-3-2, and now they've changed to 3-4-3, but they defend normally 5-4-1. So you need to have that. You need to have those disciplines of how you want the game to be played. Even calling out. I refer numbers to the positions on the pitch. 2 and 3 are the fullbacks. 4 and 5 are 2 centre halves. 6 is a holding midfielder. 8 and 10 are advanced midfielders. The 9 is the striker. 7 and 11 are the 2 wide players. And now you can tweak things in there. You can have inverted wingers and so forth. But whatever you need to come up with your system. You need to know how you're playing, how you're going to attack. So you need to know how you're going to build up, if that's what you choose. How to build up from the back, how you're going to be creative in midfield, and how are you going to score goals. And then you also need to know how you're going to defend. And you also, are you going to defend high? Are you going to drop off? You need to know how you're going to put on a mid block. And you also need to you would need to know, depending on the opposition, that you might drop very deep, defend deep to counter attack.
So a lot of grassroots coaching might look at this, Tom, might kind of think, wow, that's a lot of detail. Like, I probably wouldn't go into as much detail with my team, but a lot of these principles are actually born from the player development plan, aren't they? Like of building up from the back when you have the retreat line with the kids and stuff.
Yeah, well, we tried it. I mean, that's again, this is our ethos as an association, and I've mentioned, that all our underage teams, both male and female, qualify for elite stages, punching miles and miles above our weight. But to do that, and everyone has always remarked to me on the A license, the B license, the pro license. I mean, the question they always ask, Jenny Mac, the underage teams certainly play attractive football, both male and female, without a shadow of a doubt. But I'm saying to just as a coach, part of a club, if you have an ethos that runs through, but you may also have to develop them. Now, we always remark the 4 stages of the game, and you have to constantly keep talking this. So we call it football language. And if you keep talking to it, in training, it becomes second nature to the players. We talk about transition. So the 4 moments is attacking, transition to defending, transition to attack. And even with the underage players, you can still develop that during the game, and you don't have to stand still, and you just have to, when a player wins a ball, or you're doing little drills 2-on-2, when they lose the ball, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? That's emphasizing the element of the transition. It prevents the players, when they lose the ball, stopping, let the opposition score. They make a type of reaction, and so that's good training for them. For when they get a little bit older, you'd expect it, obviously a little bit more. But even in all of this, the one big thing that you need to have is clarity, and you need to have clarity on what you're going to do, and your staff need to be okay with it as well. The formation you're going to play, the formation you need to change it if and when you're defending, and that's part and parcel of the head coach's repertoire.
His leadership is here a picture of you getting involved with some players that have gone on to greater things.
Yeah, well, again, this was immediately after the training session in Freddie Carrick, and just doing a cool down. I was assistant coach, so that was my job. And again, how do you learn? And knowing your responsibilities, I would have gone to a lot of games to watch, and I would have, again, when we talked about how do you learn, I remember going to a number of Champions League finals to see the warm up. I'd always be maybe I'd always be 45 minutes into a senior international in the Aviva to see what the warm up is, to see the opposition doing what they're doing, and that's what I did. And I also looked at the cool downs, and as you can see, there's a couple of members of staff, Dan, who's gone on to greater things as well, and Jay's now the head coach at the under 15s. We all join in, and again, it gives a bit of camaraderie, and that's me actually leading it. Now again, I've seen underage teams where the captain takes it. Yeah, but there's this particular stage. It's a few years ago. I always took it, and I always took the warm up. Maybe not getting involved as I would, but that was an opportunity for us. So yeah, there's a couple of Jack Grealish is there, Sam Bourne, Gary O'Neill, Dylan McGlade, Dylan Hayes, and that particular group, we got to the elite stages of the under 17s, took the lead 1-0 against the Dutch, who hadn't been beaten in 18 games, or I don't even think they had conceded. Unfortunately, we lost the game 2-1 after taking the lead. Dylan Hayes scored a penalty, and Nate Naki, playing at Bournemouth now, he was the main player off the opposition. So again, when I look at that photograph, it brings up good memories. But again, it's just showing you staff and players, performing in a cool down.
More good memories of another team here, the under 16s. And I suppose leadership shown in the fact that it's not just the players in the photos, but as you mentioned there, they're all the staff as well.
Yeah, but again, I was asked a question about the staff. What you look from your staff, that was emailed in, and as the head coach, you have to select your staff. So an element of trust always comes up high in that. You want them to be sound on board. You want to tell them. You want them to be given the confidence to be able to tell you when you're doing something wrong. And You don't want them being, as I say, yes men. So there was Dennis, Josh, Tommy Carberry, and even the doctor. The doctor and doctor was as important as any member of staff, obviously for medical reasons, but the doctor and physio used to tell you how the players were, how they're feeling, and that's another thing about leading and managing and coaching. You need to know the players, but the staff can do a lot of that for you. I remember going into my first camp with an international team, and the person who was really, now I thought I knew it all because I just thought I get out on the pitch and I'll show them how to do overlapping runs or blindside runs. The person who led the camp was actually the logistics officer, as we call it, our hitman, because he had his little room. They all come down. He knew every one of them. He knew what they were like. He knew how they were. Would even come and tell you, Tom, I think Paddy's not great today. It might have been a bit of bad news, and obviously players mightn't come to the head coach, to divulge their feelings. So again, that's why I always, talk about my staff, and I talk to coaches and people who become head coaches. Staff are vital, and I remember Darren McKeely just saying to the players in the dressing room one day, looking at his assistant, he said, "When I'm not here, he's me." I thought that was a great, so we're not in front of the players, giving the responsibility to the assistants and giving them, actually, delegating that responsibility to him. And also in that particular group, you have Mark Travers, Jason Malumpy, Declan Rice as well. Says we won't say anything else about that, but he was in that particular group, and he was just a steady Eddie. I didn't think he'd reach the heights that he did. I have to be honest. So that's just a photograph or two in. And again, I'd say that coaches, I didn't do it in the early days. If you can always get a photograph with your group, and you can look back on it then, and that's what I'm doing, looking back on that photograph there with a little bit of sense of pride, and known. And again, I'd say a lot of great players, and I won't say a lot of great people within that group. And when I was a young coach, I only tended to converse with the best players, but I would suggest to people, get to know everyone in your squad, get relationships with them. And as Brendan Rodgers always says, and he got his from he used to say, he says, write the word important across the front of their brow, and make everybody feel important. And again, I only learned that within the last couple of years.
Speaking of different ways of approaching leadership, and you've got Pep Guardiola here, was a fantastic player, captain of Barcelona, and he's obviously gone on to be a very successful manager. And there's a particular type of leader.
Yeah, well, the first thing about it is that as a player, he was very influential in the team. He played midfield, and he dictated a lot of the play. In other words, how they were actually going to play. And then, because of this trade theory, I think people knew he was made out for management. He was made out for coaching. He was made out for being a leader. And obviously a great influence. Then he worked under Johan Cruyff and learned aspects of the game that we're probably not privy to. Because I'm led to believe that Cruyff had his own what you call it. He had his own language for football, but you could tell by him that he's sort of like a natural leader. And when he finishes playing, he's not going to stop. He's going to go straight into coaching. I think obviously, and his first coaching job was within Barcelona.
B team, yeah, wasn't
the B team.
Yeah.
So again, for me, working with coaches, or for a head coach working with players, you'll see that in your group, and you may be able to advise them. You'll see the natural leaders, and it's important that the natural leaders, stay within the game. But for us, that's how you can assess people. You know that they're going to go straight into coaching because they have that feel for it. They're constantly asking you questions. They're coming to you after training. Yeah, I didn't agree with that, and not in a bad way. And you'll sit down, and that's another thing as well, another leadership trait. And it's one of the things that I found about the best coaches I've ever met. They always gave up their time. You know, like I met Davy Moyes, he was coming in and he sat with me for half an hour. I sat with Chris Houghton, sat again, half an hour. Gave me their time, spoke to me about football. And it's the same as a coach with players. Give them the time. I remember a lad, and I saying it to him, he was on one of our area licenses, and I remember saying to him, one of the traits I found about you is that I asked you a question when we were leaving the dressing room, when we were out in the car park, and he stayed and conversed with me. And I think that's a brilliant attribute. Giving people of your time to discuss. I'm only going to be talking about football anyway.
Yeah.
You know, so that was that. So he was. If there is such thing as born leaders, I don't think they're born leaders. I think for myself personally, you can learn to lead.
And that's exactly what Brendan Rodgers has done, isn't it?
Yeah. Now Brendan, again, we call this the great events. So this is from academia. Brendan was at Reading, Ballymena, played at Ballymena, went across the Reading as a young lad, playing in the academy, and at 18 then he developed a problem in his knee. Went to play lower divisions for a while and came back then at 20. So what happened to him was transformation took place. He loved football, he's passionate about football, and so what he did was, okay, I'm after hitting this sort of a juncture in my life. I'm going to stop. No point in me. I'm not going to play at the top level, but if I apply myself right and learn the ropes, I can become a top class coach. And that's what he did. So that's what I'd be saying to the coaches. Take an example from him. And he also started at the bottom. A lot of people, a lot of players, like as we just said about Ryan Giggs, just went straight in, from player into the management. Gary Neville done it, and he said, listen to him, he wasn't up to it because he hadn't put the hours in on the grass. But Brendan would have. I think Brendan started with the under-9s in Reading. So that's so he's learned his craft. And again, the people that have met him and spoke about him, they don't talk about his excellent coaching skills. They talk about his man management skills and how he deals with people and how important he makes you feel. So again, for coaches and coming on coaching courses and people who want to work at the top level, you may take an example. And if you have come across an injury or you feel I'm not going to play on for too long, that's the opportunity time then to go and get qualified. But it's between courses is the time when you learn about the game, about coaching, about dealing with people. That's an important time. Things that you pick up on the course, take them away with you.
Obviously, the two examples they've given so far are people who were involved in the game as players. Okay, Brendan didn't really make it as successful as Pep Guardiola, but this man, Jose Mourinho, didn't really play at a high level yet. He's been a really successful coach.
Well, one of the people would say he's probably one of the top in the world. But again, he was fortunate to be in the right place at the right time, and he was an interpreter with the coaches that he worked on. He worked under Bobby Robson. He also worked on Louis van Gaal. I was fortunate enough to see the Champions League final where they won 4-0. He was manager of Porto against Monaco. But he learned in a different fashion. He learned from the best. But more importantly, then took it on board and implemented it. So again, for people, and it's that's a fact, and that's what happens in reality. People who haven't played at the top level believe that they can't make it to the top. And they say no, it's up to yourself.
Okay. We're coming to a summary now of your feelings on leadership with kind of 4 key points.
Yeah, look, I'm after hopefully that people, particularly coaches, doesn't matter, grassroots coaches, you can apply anything that I've spoken about. Obviously, you're working with underage kids, it's what you call it's sort of like a watered down version. But the one interesting aspect that when speaking to senior players who come on the coaching courses, and when I say senior players, I'm talking about players who played for Republic. They all refer back to the first coach that they had, how important he or she was. Always refer back, and they also refer back as well when they're starting off where they came from. You know, where they were reared. You know what they did as young players. You know, they lived in a certain area, and they learned respect from their parents. They learned respect on the street. They learned the respect from the first coach that they had. And one particular player said, just before we went out onto the pitch, our coach used to say, "And don't forget, lads, we're all in this together." And I'm just thinking how apt that saying is for the particular times we're in. So just the sort of like a little summary is, you know, have a clear vision on how you want to lead. Constantly improve yourself. One of the methods is FAI Coach Education. We're always there to help. And again, that's another aspect that people have found in our favour. On the courses, you know, you'll operate in micro groups. You'll work with peers. You'll work with the tutors. Guest coaches will come in. There's lots and lots of information, and you will improve yourself. But also, then outside of that, there's other attributes such as, you know, periodization, analyst, how to analyze a game, use of obviously IT equipment, and it's constantly we refer to it as lifelong learning, and certainly for me, it has never stopped. Set out a plan for yourself. Try and envisage where you might be. I know it's difficult at the moment, but try and make out where you might be in 3 years' time, 5 years' time, and set your goals. Set your goals for it, and goals might be different. Some people coming, a lot of people coming on the courses now, they want to go abroad, and certainly we've a lot of people abroad now, you know, working in academies, working in colleges. You might want to go. You might want to work in the female game, or with the women. Again, great. There's great opportunities within that because of the underage teams, all the way up to the senior national, the senior national league. Great opportunities to be part of a staff, and again, you can go in there, learn the ropes in the staff, and hopefully one day, whatever your goal is, then go and meet it, and go and aspire to it. And I would always say, be prepared when an opportunity comes up or comes around. If something happens, you're ready there, so you're qualified. The first thing they'll ask is, what coaching qualification have you got? But you need to have the coaching qualification, so you have that ready, and then on top of that, then your life experiences will help. But be ready. No point when a job comes up and said, "Well, I should have done that, and I should have done." It's too late then. And also, the opportunity may never come again. And that's just a photograph then after that particular game in the US. At the end of it, the objective of that particular game was to be ready then because it was a great opportunity to play in front of 45,000 in the Rose Bowl. Great opportunity for the players. Great opportunity for the staff. I'd been in a staff with Sue playing against the USA, so I knew what to expect. And again, what I expected happened again on the night. You know, the crowd and the razzmatazz that the USA put around
it. An opportunity for the coaches who are watching this webinar is assignments you've set.
Yeah.
2 key points.
Yeah, and this is just an assignment for your 3 hours. Niall is the create that will give you 3 hours CPD, and again, it's just on a Word document. A Word document will do. Put on a PowerPoint if you want, but it's just the qualities of a head coach, what you think they are, and explain them. And explain the qualities of a head coach that maybe you just listened to on the webinar and put them into your own strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So it's done in as in a SWOT diagram, and it should be interesting to read. I'll go over it and I'll give you some feedback. Hopefully it'll be honest, and you don't have to worry about it. I won't be showing it around to anybody. But again, for my own self, I look forward to the hand-ins from participants or from people who've looked at the webinar. And can you have it in by Saturday the 30th? So there's a week to put it in.
Send it to that email address there.
Yeah, the email address theoconnor@fai.ie. I hope you've enjoyed the webinar. I'd like to thank you, Gareth, for your helping hand in putting it together. Really enjoyed it, and I'd like to just say to people then, thanks very much for tuning in, and hopefully we'll all meet in better times. And I'll probably sound off. Remember, we're all in this together, and hopefully we'll meet one another. God bless.
Tom, that's brilliant. Thanks very much. Just apologies to anybody of interference with sound, such as the luxury of work from home, that the neighbour's dog gets a little bit excited, but sorry about that. As I said, that assignment is set there. It's a week for people to complete it for Tom. And there's also a UEFA B licence course coming up now. It's going to be held in August. Get your applications in by July 14th. The details are on the FAI Coach Education Twitter page. And we'd love to hear from you in terms of feedback about these webinars. So leave some comments on social media and subscribe to FAI TV and YouTube. Thanks very much.